What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I'm here with Anthony, Lori, and Mike, and we are discussing, finally, the Eternals, which we have not been able to do because we were waiting for Lori and for it to hit Disney Plus, but now it's here. Lori has watched, and she has some things to say, so we're going to get this discussion on the road. First of all, Lori, I got to know, what was it that you didn't like about this film? Because our chat.
Okay. All right. I got a few things, but basically, as far as a movie is concerned, it did the one thing that I hate. It went too much back to the backstory. I mean, I was just rewatching some of it right now, and I don't mind them giving us 20 minutes in, giving us a quick scene or two to catch us up. But this was every 5 minutes. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Second point, the guy that played Kingo, and I don't want to mispronounce his name, he posted for 2 years how buff he got for the role. All we saw was his arms. Come on, really? I don't even care if they, took his shirt off or not. I'm just saying, if you hype that you got into this incredible shape, and he's over 40, so anyone over 40 who gets into that kind of shape, I'm gonna want to see, your hard work. Okay. Third thing, I love Angelina Jolie. I do. Mark even said she looked good because we were watching it now. Her and Salma Hayek walked through this movie. I mean, they were like, yeah, I'm here for a paycheck. Oh, I'm in a Marvel movie. Oh, yeah. I am not a huge fan of this movie. And I think that they wasted the Black Knight. And it wasn't anything that they could have done some more with him in the movie. But certain characters you would expect to go all through the movie didn't. And the ending, can't even talk. I'm so upset. The ending is so strange. I'm like, well, is that it? I mean, so yeah, not a fan of the Eternals at all.
How could they waste the Black Knight if he wasn't even really in the movie?
Because they had hyped that he was going to be in it, and I expected more than the opening and the closing for him. Spoilers, guys.
They didn't really hype it in that sense that he was going to be like a huge part of the movie. I think the movie was basically to introduce his character, to set it up for his I think he's getting either a film or a Disney Plus series. I think it's a film, but yeah, I think they were setting it up for that, but I don't think he was ever supposed to be a big part of this story.
I think she's probably was hoping, like most of us, that he would get an introduction like Spider-Man did.
Yes, exactly. There you go.
Civil War.
Yeah, exactly.
This really was like a tiny little cameo, and not really, him as the Black Knight.
And if you're a comic book nerd who loves the Black Knight, you really wanted to see more. Because, I mean, first of all, who would have thought that we would get an Eternals movie? Heck, I'm still getting over the fact we got an Ant-Man and Wasp movie. So,
I mean, I look at it like this. It's like Marvel they have a common goal. They want to get to somewhere. To get there, they need to do certain movies. So the movies that they're doing, the characters that they're introducing are all key to getting to there. For example, last year we had Thanos. They introduced Guardians of the Galaxy. No one really knew why. But it turns out, if you're introducing Thanos, you have to introduce Gamora and Nebula. So they had to introduce Gamora and Nebula somehow. So they introduced Guardians of the Galaxy, which hardly, if you're not a super comic book fan, you have no idea who the fuck any of those people were.
This is true.
But they introduced them, and they ended up being integral and key to the whole Infinity War and Endgame. So that's probably what they're doing here too. It's like they're introducing the Eternals that, again, nobody has any idea who the fuck they are, but they're probably going to have something to do with the inevitable whatever Avengers big final 2-part movie thing. That's probably going to have something to do with that. So you're just going to, I mean, especially with them, with the post-credit scene introducing Eros. It's like, it's going to be something that's going to be fucking phenomenal. So we're just going to have to wait and see. It's just, I mean, that's kind of how I see this movie. It's just like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like something nobody knows. No one but hardcore fans know who they are, but you'll end up really knowing who they are by the time everything's said, by the time all is said and done.
Piggybacking off what Mike is saying, to me, it feels like the movie was really a vehicle to introduce really just two characters, Eros and the Black Knight. I don't really see how the Eternals actually fit into.
Don't forget Blade.
Yeah, Blade too. So 2.5 people.
It's not really an introduction, though. I know. You don't really see him.
But you definitely hear him.
Okay, we can add him to that too. Yeah. You got three character introductions that we know we're going to see later in other things, like Guardians of the Galaxy, just other things. And the Eternals, I don't really see how they're going to fit into anything. I mean, Kevin Feige, I'm sure, knows more than I know, but I don't see a place for Cersei and Phastos, and I don't really see a place for them really in the MCU.
I don't know. Just the way that they have done things in the past, where again, going off of what Mike said, like with the Guardians of the Galaxy, we're all like, okay, they're just introducing like this kind of obscure group of characters into an already established universe and storyline. So how do they fit in? And then, like Mike said, we see how they fit into the overall arc. And I mean, we still have another Guardians of the Galaxy film that has to come out, and we don't know if that's going to tie into all of this other stuff, since we have seen elements of the Celestials in Guardians of the Galaxy. So that may tie in. And then also, if you think back to the post-credit scene in Shang-Chi, I have a feeling that the 10 rings also tie into the Eternals. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's canon, but the way that things happen in that scene with the beacon and, the archaic writing that no one can identify, they just know that it's something from outer space, and they're not sure how. I think it ties in. So
no, it's going to tie in, but it's not like the Guardians of the Galaxy. With the Guardians of the Galaxy, like Mike said, you had Gamora and
Nebula.
Mm-hmm. If you have Thanos, you have to have them, and that was a thing. But now, the Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out again, but that's going to have Thor with them. So that's still going to tie to what we need for the MCU. The only thing I can think of is eventually this is probably all going to lead to, this is not a theory, Mike. I saw that look. This is not a theory.
I always just wait now.
Somehow we're going to get the Fantastic Four out of this, because they talked a lot about the cosmic power and whatnot and the cosmic energy. So, that's where the Fantastic Four get their powers. So I'm thinking somehow this is going to relate to them.
Well, if they did that, the only way that they can legitimately do that is to have something to do with the negative zone in order for that to happen, because then you can bring in Adam Warlock and the rest of them, and they can do that. But yeah, I see your point.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see where they go with this.
Sorry, I apologize. I just sounded straight nerd right there.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Honestly, I was gonna let it go, but I don't know how the negative zone is gonna play into this. But I think it's more or less maybe Reed Richards is gonna be studying the energy and maybe what was going on, and just it somehow they're gonna tap into this and figure something out, and they're gonna get exposed to this. This is also gonna bring in Galactus,
right?
Because I really think they're gonna try to tie all of this together. And we're gonna get Galactus and the Fantastic Four out of this somehow, because
Silver Surfer,
because Galactus is not really, I don't know if it's canon anymore, but his thing was he was going around eating the celestial eggs,
right?
So he was targeting planets that have the celestial eggs in it, and supposedly Ego was supposed to be a trap. Ego was created by the Celestials
right.
to trap, or kill Galactus, but he ended up doing his own thing.
But see,
all of this, I think, is going to tie Galactus and Fantastic Four into the MCU, and they can do that through the Celestials and the Eternals.
And that would give us Ornrad, which would give me finally a Silver Surfer movie that I can be like, yay! Because I really don't care about Galactus. I care about Silver Surfer.
Right, because it's possible that the 10 rings were from a herald that crashed here looking for the celestial egg that was here on Earth.
That would be cool. Because other than Ornrad, I'm trying to think of a more noted herald than him, and I can't really think of any.
Firebrand?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We're getting really geeky now.
Yes,
I mean, there've been other people who've been heralds. Like, I mean, Deadpool's been a herald. Ghost Rider's been a herald. Shit, even my boy Howard was a herald at one point.
That's true.
So I mean, it just really, it just doesn't matter. It's like if Galactus loses one herald, you just pick up someone else. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah,
but I really think that the 10 rings are going to tie into a herald of Galactus, and we're going to get a phase with Galactus at some point.
I hope so.
Cool theory. Going back to the movie.
I should have worn my Knotted Theory shirt.
Well, I've been thinking ever since we did our rankings, that I put this movie as a skosh ahead of What If. Like, after seeing the Multiverse of Madness trailer, I feel like I need to put What If a little bit higher than Eternals, just because of what it means for the future. But I actually enjoyed this movie. I haven't, like, my comic book knowledge is kind of like middle. Like, I'm like, I know more than most, but not as much as like Lori or anyone else who's really heavy into comic books. But I could appreciate, like, Dane Whitman having turning it into Game of Thrones Marvel Edition and having almost everybody from Game of Thrones in here, which is I mean, that's fine, sure, why not?
That was weird.
I would be cool with that.
Look, seeing Jon Snow, okay, and seeing Robb Stark in the same movie did freak me out. It just
what's freaking out is them being in love with Cersei.
Right.
That's the
weird thing.
Yeah. Because
seeing the two of them together, like when the casting came out, I walked around my house squealing because I absolutely love both of those guys. I love, the other things that they've done. And I was just like, yes, give me my Stark energy. Just give it here. And it was so weird seeing them interact in this movie because of the fact that they are romantic rivals, and Icarus is like the stoic, really serious person, and Dane Whitman is just goofy. He's just goofy, and I love it. But you could see, like, they're on the extreme opposite sides, and they both have this one thing in common, and it's obvious that she cares for both of them. But I mean, Icarus left her for 2,000 years, so whatever.
Yeah, he just left.
Up and left.
I quit. No, dear John Lear just disappeared.
Oh.
See, that was foul.
There's a lot about Icarus that's foul.
That's true.
A lot. I mean, I also really wish we would have seen more of the characters that we didn't see as much of, like Druig and what's her name?
Makari.
Like for real. Like, I'm with everyone else in the world.
That
we should have gotten way more Makari than we did.
They could have done.
Like, she could have stolen. She was just badass, and I mean, it's like, I've seen so many comparisons to, like, since she's technically a speedster, like comparing her speed to everyone else's speed, and I actually wouldn't mind seeing that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how. Makari.
Well, the thing is that I posted something in our group chat the other day, and a couple of you freaked out. Marvel's doing a summer event, and it has Jurg saying that something to the here. Let me get it directly, because if I quote it wrong, basically what they're doing is that they are announcing a comic book event, and it's very interesting because I almost have it. Just a second. We post way too much stuff.
Well, why you do that? You say the other speedsters have nothing on Makari? Maybe in the MCU, because in the DC, Flash is the speed god. He will
Barry is basically
her.
untouchable.
The problem is Barry Allen makes too many stupid mistakes.
Well, that's just a TV show. That's just a TV show. The comic book is different. It says, for 1 million years, Earth has been protected from the deviants, but we made a mistake. We missed some. The mutants, and it's Jurek. And it's called Judgment Day. It's coming out this summer. I posted this, and you guys lost your mind. You're like, Disney Plus show? I'm like, no, it's a comic book.
You teased us. That wasn't fair.
Sorry.
Because I was literally getting ready to be like losing my shit, and you're like, no, it's a comic book. I'm like, I mean, I gotta read instead of watch something. Get out of here with that.
Same. I was I'm thinking we're finally getting mutants in the MCU, and then I was like, wait, comic book event, like
we have mutants in the MCU already,
right? But Mike made a good point.
That's my point, though.
He said, what did you say, Mike, in the chat? You said that later on down the line, this could potentially be a movie, and if that's true, and anything, I didn't mean to talk over you, I'm sorry, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it could be something leading up. It could predicate a movie, because I mean, all Marvel stuff comes from comic books. So I mean, they could be using this to test the waters to see how it will work. Then they would be like, okay, let's go ahead and film it.
I don't even know why they are testing the waters with anything. They know at this point, if they give it to us, we will consume it.
We're going to watch it. Yeah.
Well, there is a I forgot what the word was, but there's like a connection between all the Marvel properties, including the comic books, where they literally are trying to make this multiverse on all levels. So if you see something in the comic books, I promise you, someone somewhere said we can make that work, either as a Disney Plus show or a movie, and we're going to connect it all to the MCU universe. Oh, and by the way, Silver Surfer is probably the fastest speedster in the MCU, and nobody can touch him.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Even Makari, it's not gonna happen.
I think you're right, but I would pay good money to see the Eternals, the Celestials, whatever, go up against the mutants, just to see who would win.
It depends. I mean, if they have certain mutants like Nathaniel Richards or something like that.
Yes, and the whole Cold-Star thing, and yeah, that's true. But also, you need the Juggernaut just for fun. Juggernaut and Sabretooth just for fun.
Juggernaut's not a mutant.
No.
Well,
Juggernaut's not a mutant.
Actually, technically, he's not a mutant. You're right about that. Okay, Sabretooth. But Juggernaut is fun. I was watching the X-Men Chris Claremont 90s cartoon the other day, yesterday, and I was like, I love this stuff. They did Genosha.
I watched that part on Deadpool 2 again, like last week. That shit was awesome.
Oh, it's awesome. But okay, here's the thing. Sprite. The whole storyline with her, I felt really bad, but you knew what was going to happen. I mean, you could see it coming. The thing that I didn't like about this movie is that every single plot line, including Icarus, you kind of figured it out from the first 5 minutes. There was no mystery at all.
Sprite. It's like Sprite is like, Sprite probably made stories of Peter Pan up just to describe her life, because she's basically Peter Pan. I mean, just like,
Tinkerbell.
She's Tinkerbell. Yeah,
well, kind of like Kingo described it, the whole thing. But Sprite's story, it was interesting watching it from that perspective, because we have we cover Invincible on the show, and one of the debates or one of the discussions that we've had a lot of is about the whole Monster Girl story arc and how that can be complicated. And, it seems kind of weird from our point of view, because you're talking about somebody that looks like a child, but it's hard to remember that she's an adult and the complications that come with that. And then a few weeks ago, I shared a link in the chat because there is a reality show that's coming out about a 22-year-old young lady who has a similar affliction. Like, she looks like she's 8.
Yeah.
And she's 22 years old. And
Right.
it's something, it's some kind of disorder that she has, and there's no cure for it. There's no fixing it. So she talks about in the article how difficult her life is. Like, she'll walk out the house wearing something that we would consider, appropriate for an adult, but on a 8-year-old child is not appropriate. And, she's heard people talk about her mom, how can you let a child do this and all this other stuff. And it really made me think about the Monster Girl thing and the Sprite thing. Like, Sprite, as we find out in the film, the Celestials made the Eternals. They're not humans. They're not actual people. They're basically like a bunch of AI, in a sense. And for whatever reason, they made Sprite look like a little kid. I don't know if they did that for relatability issues, whatever.
I don't know what Ashram was thinking, making her look like a child.
I don't know either, because you put her on a planet where she's living amongst humans. And I don't think the plan was originally for them to stay on that planet. I think that was something Ajax allowed them to do, because she started having, a little bit of a conscious, I guess you could say. She started thinking about the mission that Arasham had them on, and then her looking at the humans and living amongst them. She's like, yeah, I think we might be a little bit hasty in what we're trying to do. But for her to have to live that whole time as a child and not be able to experience anything dealing with adult love. I mean, we see in the beginning of the film, she's actually at a bar, they're celebrating Dane's birthday, and she's talking to this guy. And of course, we don't know it's her at first. It's just this random chick and this random guy talking. And when he goes to touch her hand, you see the illusion, and then we learn it's Sprite. I can't even imagine having to go through life like that for 7,000 years. You can never express adult love for anybody.
It was probably longer than that, because remember, they go around to different planets doing this. So this
she may not have looked like that when they went to the other planets. I'm just talking specifically about their time on Earth.
This is how they are like this everywhere they go. That's how they were created to look.
Right.
They've always he doesn't change how they look.
So
then that sucks even more.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point. And the thing is, they didn't stay longer than they were supposed to. Their first goal is to eliminate all the deviants and to ensure that the population of the planet achieves milestones in moving their civilization forward, just so that their intelligence
right you're right
on the inside.
Right.
It's just that after the snap, it kind of stopped everything for a minute, and then when they all came back, I think that was when Ajax was like, you know what, these people they're awesome. Look what they did, look what they accomplished. Why should we wipe them out? Who knows what they could accomplish going forward? And I think that was Ajax's thought.
But she had second thoughts way before then too. When they were in Babylon, she had second thoughts about it.
She may have, but if it had not been for the snap, I think she wouldn't have started taking steps to actually not doing what they were going to do.
Yeah.
But I agree with that. But I also think the other problem with Sprite is not only, being able to have a relationship, but I mean, if you're eternally a kid, there are so many things, just everyday life, you can't do. You can't have your own apartment because neighbors would talk because you're a kid. Right? You can't go on vacation by yourself because you're a kid. You can't do any number of things because you're basically 12 years old, and people expect an adult with you at certain times in order to live your life. I mean, she could do some things, like go to the movies, bookstore, grocery store, but anything beyond basic functions, she's screwed. And honestly, if that was me, and I spent the last 7,000 years as a 12-year-old. I think I might have taken myself out just because I would have gone mad with the idea that I can't do anything at all.
Yeah. I think also too, the issues that plagued the Eternals through this movie, as far as, them, whether they were together, whether they were apart, she had to deal with a lot being who she was. It's like she said, Kingo abandoned her, and she, given the way that she described them, I feel like she and Kingo were kind of close. And then when they all separated, he left. She's in love with Icarus and can't do anything about that. Not only because he was in love with Cersei, but still he's very obviously a grown adult, and she looks again like a child. And then for the people that she cares about to tease her about it, what was it, Gilgamesh, making the joke about serving her the kids drink instead of it being alcoholic because of her age. And then I think when they saw, was it Kingo? No, it was Druid. He came out and he was like, "You're looking young, Sprite." And I'm like, that's probably not what she wants to hear. So I thought about it at first when she, towards the end of course, we're just kind of all over the place now, but when, at the end, when she went with Icarus, at first I was like, why would, but then again, when you think about it, it's kind of like, I don't know. You just kind of have to grab the moments that you're able to grab. And even if she couldn't be with him the way she wanted to, I think she was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to support him anyway, because what else can she do? I'm sure it sucks being Sprite, and her, being able to become a real human at the end so that she could live a full human life. It's like she still has to go at least 6-7 years, maybe a little bit more, because I don't know what her age range is supposed to be. She looks like she could be like 14, 15 in the film. She still has to go close to a decade before she can actually pursue like a real adult relationship. And I say that because I don't think somebody of Sprite's age and intelligence would bother with like a teenage boy. She might do it just for the fun or for the experience, but she's going to get bored with somebody who doesn't have half the knowledge that she has, So it's just, I don't know why they wrote her like that. I don't know why Arishem created her like that, but it's a fucked up situation all around. It's just, why would you do that? And of course we can look at the Celestials and say they have no inkling of what human emotion and human experience is. So they wouldn't think, okay, yeah, well, we're going to send her out looking like this and she's going to have problems. They weren't thinking about it like that. They're like, okay, we created you to go do this mission. That's all you need to do. You need to do this mission and be done with it. But I don't know. That Sprite storyline bothered me. Just, I know it's a thing. Like I said, newspaper article from a few weeks ago, but it's such a difficult topic to discuss. You got a child who's an adult and they can't be an adult and they can't really be a child either. It's just, I don't know. It's
a tough middle ground.
It sucks. But so I know we've already been like talking for 20 minutes, so I don't think we have to do an introduction like to who the Eternals are, because chances are anybody who's listening to this already knows. But I would say, as far as the characters, my favorites in this film were Gilgamesh and Thena. I love that relationship. And I think the relationships in this movie were huge for me, because not all of the relationships were romantic relationships, but they were all very important in different ways. You know, you have the bond with Gilgamesh and Athena, where Athena started to lose her mind because she was actually remembering everything that the Celestials had them do. You know, she was remembering all the past missions and it was coming up, and it manifests itself in a kind of madness. And Gilgamesh stood by her, took care of her, you know, didn't abandon her. And just that whole, the way they played that whole friendship relationship, it was very beautiful. When Gilgamesh died, I cried. I sobbed.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
I did not see that coming.
Yeah. Again, the bond between Makari and Druig, I didn't see that coming, but I loved it. Like, I think everybody on the planet who has watched this movie ships them because they were just so sweet with each other. They were so cute. And seeing Fastos and his husband and their child, that was huge because we don't get that in, like, this is the first time it's happened in a Marvel movie. You know, having a homosexual relationship. And
it wasn't the only first in a Marvel MCU movie.
It wasn't. We'll get to that. We will get to that because that's part of this whole relationship thing. But
I think there was a core. I think there was a core of the show, the movie. I think that's what the movie was really about. Was about relationships.
Yeah, and how important they are in all aspects. I mean, like I said, Fastos and his husband and child. You know, like he said, those two people were the reasons he restored his faith in humanity. And, you know, to go from someone who swore off humans because they, as they describe in the film, he uses his technology to kind of help push them forward. And of course, in 1945, what happens? They use it to bomb Hiroshima. And it was something that he took personally. And it was. And so for him to go from that saying, you know, there's nothing about these people that are worth saving, to having this relationship with this man and this child and being happy, that was such a refreshing thing to see. And then, yes, let's go to the Icarus and Cersei thing, because we also got our very first sex scene in a Marvel movie. When that played on the screen, I was like,
wait, what? And then, like, okay, I know it was real vanilla, which I'm sure they had to do,
right?
But like,
and really dark.
I mean,
like I'm looking at it on my phone, and I'm like, they
made
that as dark as humanly possible.
There was thrusting and heavy breathing and moaning and all that stuff. Like, whoa.
I was like, oh my God, this is no, not really. But I was just kind of like,
wait, I'm an adult. Hold on.
I was like, oh, are the Marvel films growing up? Like, that's how I felt watching this film. It was a lot of, and I will say this too, most of the Marvel films, relationships have always been an important part of those films, an important part of those stories. But to see so many positive in just this one film with these people, and then there's also, like, let's talk about the diversity. Let's talk about how, you know, everybody looked different from the other person, and how important that was to this.
You talked about the Gilgamesh and Athena, and I was thinking of those old couples where one gets Alzheimer's, and the other one is taking care of them. I was feeling that, and it was like, wow, they really went all out with this version.
And he was so gentle with her all the time. Just and
patient.
Yeah. And I could, like, Angelina Jolie did a really great job playing Athena, especially during those times when she was kind of in between both minds, where she wasn't sure who she was or what she was doing. And Gilgamesh having to talk her down, especially like that last conversation before he gets killed. She's sitting there at the tree and she's struggling to try to remember who she is. And as he gets killed, just the way she broke down, and that was so heartbreaking. But I I mean, even with the way that we see Ajak throughout the film, because she actually dies very early in the movie, but we see her in flashbacks. Just the way she was with them, being motherly and just kind of, even though she knows the mission that they are having to do, you know, we know that she confided in Icarus, but even that kind of dynamic, like she treated all of them as equals to a certain extent. And then like with Icarus, when he was telling her, I don't think we should be doing that, she was like, I didn't ask you for your advice. Don't forget your place. I was like, oh, okay. But the relationships in this film were part of what made me love the movie so much. Just so much support and so much honesty too, because even towards the end, when Icarus shows his colors and we find out that he's actually going to try to stop them from stopping the emergence, to the point where he is willing to kill them if he has to. Like, we know he killed Ajak because she had a change of heart. And, you know, I think he was really holding out, hoping that Cersei would see his point of view. And then once it's obvious that she won't, he goes into battle mode. Kingo, when he makes the decision that, hey, I still believe in what we're meant to do, but I'm not willing to kill you guys in order to achieve that, so I'm bowing out. I know that can be looked at as a cowardly move, but the fact that he was able to still hold on to his faith, hold on to his beliefs, but also prioritize his relationship with his family, to say, you know what, I'm not about to choose. I'm just going to be Switzerland way over here somewhere. There's an honesty in that I loved. You know, you didn't compromise your faith for your family, and you didn't compromise your family for your beliefs. You were just kind of like, okay, look, both of these things are equally important to me, and I'm not going to choose. I'm not going to take sides. I'm out. Bye. And just being able to say that, because, you know, in so many relationships, there are times when people give you ultimatums, or they want you to compromise on your beliefs, or compromise on this and compromise on that. And he made his decision that that's not what he was going to do. And nobody else got in his ass about it.
Yeah, because he basically said, you know, Icarus is right, but I'm not fighting you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to fight.
And when he left, nobody gave him shit about it. Yeah. You know?
And when he came back in the end, nobody gave him shit about it.
Right. Like, they really respected his decision.
And also along that line, the amount, you can really tell that they really love each other very deeply, because even though Sprite stabbed her, literally tried to kill her, Cersei still said, if you want to be human, I can make it happen.
Right.
And still was trying to take care of her in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real deep love.
Yeah. Well, you know, you got however many thousands of years, at least from this point that they can remember, you got 7,000 years of history. One shank ain't gonna kill that relationship. I'm just saying, you know. But and then I think also too, because once it was made kind of obvious why Sprite went with Icarus, because the other thing too, Kingo, for his vanity and his ego that he had a little bit of, you know, being the movie star and all this other stuff, he seems to be very good at reading people. And he read Sprite like it was nothing. Like, he called out what the deal was with her, and nobody else saw it, you know? And then once it was kind of put out there, I think Cersei kind of realized, because if you think about it, Sprite's been with her for a long time.
Right.
So she's had to watch Cersei and Icarus together as husband and wife, as you know, loving each other and being in that relationship and having that kind of relationship that she could never have. And, you know, I didn't notice it until I rewatched it earlier today. the wedding scene when they got married, everybody else was happy, and Sprite was just standing there like. And I never paid attention to it before.
The family picture, I guess the wedding photo, she just had this nasty look on her face.
She was just like, like,
yeah.
I guess I never had that, but yeah. So the relationship, I mean, the relationships are one of my favorite parts of this film. I think they were written very beautifully. They were acted very beautifully. And I really wish we could have seen more of Ajax in the film, because we did see her, but I don't think we saw her enough. But I guess that also ties into what Lori said about putting too much of the backstory in. Like, I feel like I could have seen more of what made them if we had enough time. But I think they did a good job introducing these brand new characters, giving us reasons to actually care about these characters, because you get their history and you get to see them bond and you get to see them fight and kind of separate and everything. So you get to see a lot about these characters. And I think they did a really good job of making us care about them and care about what happens to them. Like I said, when Gilgamesh died, I bawled like a baby. Ajax was one of those weird ones, because she, like I said, she died towards the beginning of the film, or that we saw her die dead at the beginning of the film. And then we kind of see her throughout the movie and then find out how she dies. And that, okay, so I probably wasn't paying much attention in that sense, but I didn't see the Icarus thing coming until like towards the middle of the film. So when we saw what he did with Ajax, I was really, really pissed off. Like,
okay, Hanukkah, when your husband, your boyfriend shows up out of the blue after 2,000 years for no reason, it's like, hey, how you doing? He's the bad guy.
Well, I mean, think about it. They have a long lifespan and they were together for 5,000 years. He might have wanted to go see what else was there in the universe. That didn't necessarily have to be a bad guy.
I'll give you that. But him showing up back in her life, that means he's the bad guy, not him going out trying to find something else. No. People like that, when they go and they come back all of a sudden, and it's just like, for example, you're minding your business, you're happy, and your ex pops up and all of a sudden like, hi, you want to go have coffee? Don't trust them.
Well, I mean, you got to think about the way that they spun the story. He came back because of he could have come back because of the demons. He came back because of the earthquake. That's what he said. I came to check on you after the earthquake. The deviant is new to me. Like, he didn't know about the deviants. So the earthquake thing, if I remember correctly, that's kind of how this whole emergence thing starts on all of the planets, because we literally have a person type thing trying to break its way out of, I don't know, it's almost like a chicken and an egg. It's trying to come out. And so what do? You crack the surface, you crack the shell. And I guess he was like, I guess it would be one of those things where it's like, okay, so where exactly were you when you realized that this earthquake was not a regular earthquake? Like, were you on planet Earth? Were you near planet Earth? Was this something Arishem said, hey, you need to go? But that can't be it either, because Arishem only speaks through Ajax. And then now Cersei, because Ajax gave her power, or her communication spear, or whatever that thing is called. So I have questions about Icarus. Like, where the hell were you 2,000 years? You notice he always dodged Cersei's questions.
Mm-hmm. True. He did that. Yeah.
She asked him why he left, and and his response was, "Oh, I've missed you, Cersei." That ain't what I asked you.
Exactly.
I asked where the hell you were. He
was doing the gallows glass. He was watching her from a distance.
Exactly. He was watching from afar, watching over her.
Do not get me started.
To ensure that she stays safe.
But I don't know. And then also here's my thing. So when Thanos snapped half of the population of the entire universe, do Eternals get snapped, or are they just
no,
there?
they're not organic.
Oh well, yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah, you're right.
That's right. They don't play by the same rules.
It's not included in it wasn't sentient life, it was living creatures.
Right.
So.
And I think that was real screwed up, the way that Cersei found out all of this, because they had no clue that they weren't, whatever. So the fact that Arishem was like, oh yeah, okay, so let me tell you what your mission is actually, and let me tell you what we're going to do. And oh, by the way, you're not a real person. You're like this thing we created for this purpose. And then let's talk about those deviants. That deviant, once it kind of evolved, Crow? He was like, yeah.
You know who that was, don't you?
No, who?
Bill Skarsgård.
Oh yeah. Because when we were watching it, Michaela was like, "There's a Skarsgård."
That's it.
Oh, of course, there's a Skarsgård. So, but what he was saying about Arishem created us, and then basically what happened, Arishem created the deviants to kill the predators on other planets, and then the deviants evolved, and then they became the predators. So the Eternals were created to get rid of the deviants. So basically you're sending your younger child to go kill the older child because the older child isn't behaving.
No, they were just doing their job too well. They're supposed to, they were doing their job too well. They were supposed to eliminate the large predators so the intelligent life could evolve, and
but then you become the predator and you start killing the intelligent life. I mean, that was the whole first scene of the movie, was a deviant coming out of the ocean and snapping a man and eating him whole. Like, you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. And now you're mad because the Eternals are coming to wipe you out. But it was just, when he started speaking and telling it was Thena and Gilgamesh, because this was right after Gilgamesh got gravely injured, and he was basically absorbing all of Gilgamesh's powers, and that's what helped him to evolve into this standing deviant, which was really weird and strange looking. But he was basically like, you Eternals, y'all aren't good guys, y'all are the bad guys, and I'm gonna kill all of you for what you have done to my whole race. But they were basically doing what they were told to do, what they were created to do, just like you did. But I guess part of their evolution was like what Ajak was trying to do. She was like, okay, we don't need to kill everyone on this planet in order for Tiamat to be, born or created, or whatever the terminology would be for celestial popping out of the earth. But
wait, what? Because it was necessary.
But
it was necessary for everyone to die in order for the celestial to be born.
And I understand that that's what they say, but like, they were trying to find a way around it. Cersei was trying to find a way around it. And again,
Cersei just was gonna try to delay it. She and stop it, but
she was going to do that because she wanted to find some other way. She said that I think there was one part, she said there has to be a way for Tiamat to be created without killing everyone on Earth. Okay. So I think she was trying to delay it until they could figure something out. But I think them delaying it would have, it would have had like some kind of chain effect on the whole universe. Because when Arishem was explaining it, and we get into these discussions all the time with the shows that we watch. It just happens to come with the territory when it comes to fantasy and science fiction. But basically, he was saying that, the destruction of the planets, they basically create the building blocks for them to build other galaxies. So it's kind of one of those things. It's like that circle of life, the circle of life analogy. Something dies, it goes back into the ground, and then the animals eat it, and so on and so forth. So I get that with the analogy that he made. The dying planets, the people who are killed, whatever, they become, this stuff that we use to make other stuff, and so on and so forth. I get it, but why do we always have to kill people in order to make more people? Like, why is that always the solution? Getting rid of half the universe.
I think there was someone who did come up with the solution to stop it. He just wasn't real honest with the solution.
Are you talking about Thanos?
Yeah, I'm talking about Thanos.
He was honest with the solution, but it was just, again, why?
Well, he didn't.
I hear he was right.
Purpose.
So
his purpose. He was saying, we eliminate half of life in the universe, and there'll be more resources. No, you basically stop the birth of a whole bunch of Celestials, and you save billions and billions of lives.
Yeah, but
the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one.
I don't know.
Thanos was right, and Thanos had.
Do I need to get y'all a coffee cup?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because both of y'all have said that in the last 2 minutes. But
when you think about it, he directly indirectly saved the half of the universe that he spared. It's like, if he would have gone, is there any guarantee that he could have beaten Eternal? Absolutely. A Celestial? Absolutely not. So, he basically saved everybody on Earth, because we know that we're at the point where we were so technologically advanced that the Celestial was going to spring forth through Earth. So how many other planets were probably like at that same point as well? And then how many other universes?
And we get confirmation that he was eternal as well.
Right.
So
that was weird.
He's an eternal. How are they going to explain that he's an eternal?
Is he eternal, or is he like a eternal / deviant?
He's an eternal with the deviant gene.
That's because when he was born, his mom went batshit crazy, and with his dad, and the whole thing with his brother. But that's for a different podcast.
Did she have the worry?
Huh?
Did she have the mad worry? Like
No. She nutted up because when he was born, he was technically ugly, and she thought that because of his physical deformities, it was something that she did, instead of understanding that it was actually genetics. So she tried to keep him hidden, and when that didn't work, and when her husband tried to comfort her, she pushed him away. She went toward the other son, which was pretty, and basically she just made herself nuts.
Yeah, her other son is very pretty.
Yes.
Welcome to the MCU, Harry Styles.
in other words, they have a lot of explaining to do, because
pretty much
they're going to have to explain Thanos being an eternal and having a deviant gene. Like, how would that even happen?
There is actually a really good video that I saw on YouTube, and I have to send it to you guys, but there was a video made right before the Eternals came out that kind of explains the Eternals family tree. So it talks about where all the Eternals supposedly came from, where their I guess their parentage and all this other stuff, and how they relate to the Celestials and to deviants and stuff like that. Like, I think Thena and Thanos are actually like half cousins or something like that. So I was like, oh.
But see, that's cheating, though.
Well,
because I had to go through years of going through comic book after comic book to get this information.
Well, I don't have that kind of time, so I go to YouTube videos.
Hey, this is what technology is for. This is exactly what technology is for.
Yeah, but that is all cool. But we know we've said it before that the MCU, they take inspiration from the comics, not necessarily the whole stories.
Right.
So they've already established that Arishem created the Eternals. So they were around for 7,000 years and they weren't able to procreate. I mean,
right. Yeah.
So I would have a hard time thinking that they would take the family tree literally from the comic book and make it a real thing.
Right.
Because they've already established that they don't do that. So, and we know that like
he could have been lying.
And the relationship between the different groups of Eternals could be different. Like Eros and Thanos, that group of Eternals may have treated each other like family. And that's why that's his brother. But we know that our group didn't do that because they're banging each other. So you don't think Makari and Druid? Come on now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe so. But
because he was just as happy to see her as she was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime his whole greeting to her, my beautiful Makari.
Right.
Oh, hi. And what was it? Was it Fastos who was like, so what is this new? Because I don't like it. And Kingo is like, do y'all not pay attention to anything?
I was cracking up. I mean, it's like, hello, people, but Fastos at the same time, mad genius, right? Awkward, he is just it seems like he's so smart that he's clueless on basic things, and that's what you get with geniuses. So he played that perfectly. But Kingo is my favorite, and I will admit that I'm watching it now. They did basically finish the rehearsal of the Hindi Bollywood dance thing, because that was my other gripe. So they didn't finish the dance, but they did.
Yeah, they did. That was funny.
I'm sorry. I'm just.
You got to see his wonderful Hindu arms and all their bulging muscular glory.
Look, as someone who spent a good 5 years every weekend watching Hindi films, at some point it's like, well, just do the dance. Just I mean, it's entertaining.
I love the fact that it's almost like he was making fun of himself.
Yep,
by doing the dance, because he's talked about it in interviews that he does not know how to dance. He can't dance, and he had to actually learn how to dance for this scene. And then I think at the same time he was dancing, but it wasn't perfect. It was kind of off. I think kind of like a tongue-in-cheek reference, like, yeah, I'm supposed to be this hot Bollywood star and I can't keep beat and I'm making these weird faces. It's like a caricature of what we look at as how Hollywood people are.
Right.
I thought it was really funny. Because he's just sitting here like doing all this stuff. And it's funny because Sprite and Icarus both had the same looks of kind of disgust on their face. Like, what the fuck is he doing? And Cersei is sitting there looking at him smiling like, oh my God, this is so great.
I love the fact that you had a veteran Bollywood actor play his assistant, and he's been in well over 100 movies. And seeing him was just really kind of cool. It's like, oh,
he was one of my favorite characters of the entire film.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, he was awesome.
But the thing that really was so funny is in interviews, the actor kept the posters from the movie where he was my grandfather, my great grandfather. I love that so much. But that's what you would do if you're an immortal. If you were doing something like that, you would, every couple of years, you would announce that your father passed away, and then here's the son, and you just keep, doing it all over. Again, my favorite character next to Gilgamesh is Kingo.
So, okay, I have a question. When the deviants showed up in Druid's village, and they're fighting them, and Cersei she falls into the water, she's thrown into the water, and the deviant that comes after her, she turns it into a tree. What was that? Because they never really explained it. Like, she didn't even know how she did it. And I mean,
that's kind of her power. It's like she can change like certain minerals or things into different things.
Right.
Like, especially like natural things. She can change, like she can put her hands in dirt and make water. she can like grab something metal and turn to a different metal. So it's just
she was saying
this is just like it's an acceleration of her powers because she has the little Nokia ball in her now that's like, lets her talk to Arishem. I think it like amplified from what I can kind of notice, it seems like it kind of amplifies her powers a little bit or changes them.
Okay.
But that's kind of what I got from it.
Yeah, I think something along those lines, but I think she's never really done it on organic living things.
Right.
And I think that's what shocked her. I don't think she knew she could do it, or she had never tried it before.
Yeah, because Dane apparently wants her to turn him into a giraffe. And she was like, too bad I can't do da-da-da. You make a cute giraffe. I'm like, really? A giraffe? For real? And then, of course, there's been people who have been doing memes and they've taken his saying that he wants to be a giraffe and they've actually found like a giraffe in a couple of Marvel properties.
Oh, God.
Like there was one in Kate Bishop's bedroom when she was a little girl, and there was another one, I think the same giraffe in another show or movie. And I was like, y'all are reaching. But now I feel like I have to go and look that up and see, okay, was that the same giraffe? Like,
people with too much time on their hands going back through old movies and freeze framing and looking at things frame by frame.
Oh, you know what that's like.
You used to?
You don't have time for that.
You know what that's like. You love doing that.
You do. But let's see. What else do we need to talk about? Icarus. Let's talk about Icarus for a minute.
Treacherous son of a bitch.
You know what? I can't even look at him as being treacherous. Icarus is he's like the poster child for what happens when you are very, Icarus has this belief that Arishem is doing what needs to be done. And he follows this so blindly that he has killed the person who was the closest to him. He is trying to kill the people that he considers family, that consider him family. And it's just one of those things where he really thinks that he's doing the right thing. But, as with anything, blind faith, when it gets to a point that you can't be moved, persuaded, you can't see reason, even when it's given to you, that's dangerous. And we see that with him because he is just on this one little path and he's ready to fight with everybody. And speaking of fighting with everybody, I will never get tired of watching Makari kick his ass, ever. Yeah. That fight on the beach, and the way that they kind of describe Icarus, or the way that they kind of infer to him, he's supposed to be the strongest out of all of them.
He's a Superman of this.
But you see the others hold their own with him. Like I said, Makari was whipping him all up and down the beach. Phastos was able to subdue him for a long amount of time, kind of disabling him while Cersei is trying to go stop Tiamat and all this other stuff is going on. Thena, her fighting skills, once she kind of got in her right mind, she was whooping Icarus, she was whooping the Deviant. And the funny thing was when they were in the cave, and Icarus, I think he grabbed her and said something about, I don't want to fight you, Thena. And she was like, I've always wanted to fight you. And you can see a little bit of that throughout the whole movie, because anytime that they communicated with each other, or they were in the scene together talking, it was kind of sort of antagonistic. And then at the end, it was kind of like, okay, I have respect for you. I have respect for you. But you could tell, like, Thena wanted to get in that ass all movie, the whole movie. She was challenging him. And to watch,
I don't think she was convinced that he was stronger than her.
and he probably wasn't. I mean,
I don't.
She was, even though Olympia does not exist technically, her reputation is she is the most powerful warrior of Olympia. And, she was like, oh yeah, okay, let's go fight. He's like, I don't want to fight you. She's like, but I've always wanted to fight you.
What is it that you say? He don't want that smoke.
He don't want that smoke. This ain't what you want.
No, man. No.
And not just from her. He really, I think he really believed the hype that he was the strongest of them all, but they all showed him, the ones that were fighting him, they were like, oh no, this ain't gonna be no easy ass whooping. You got to earn this. And in the end, wasn't too much he could do, because all of that fighting power was nothing compared to when Cersei looked at him. And I think that's one of the reasons why Ajax chose her too, because she was like, if anybody's going to be able to talk him down or talk him out of this, it's going to be Cersei. And he stood down. They were able to stop Tiamat from, being born. And then, and I've seen so many memes about this, then he tells her he's sorry and he flies away from Earth and then flies into the sun. And everybody was like, oh, this punk, he flew away because his girlfriend didn't want him or something else. I was like, no, he probably flew into the sun because he figured that was a preferable death compared to what Arishem was going to do to him. Or because he was just tired of going through that cycle, But.
Well, I mean, I can see your point on that, but I considering what they're made of and who they are, I don't think he's dead.
He might not be.
I think he's a goner.
You think so?
I think he's done for.
No, he's just chilling in the sun. He's just like, he's trying to burn off some steam.
No, that one didn't work.
I mean, why else fly into the sun if not to kill yourself? He's done.
Maybe he changed his mind at the last minute. He's like, you know what? Screw this place. He did like Omni-Man, just flew away. He's going to come back later with all the rest of the Celestials.
Ooh,
well, can someone explain anymore why Arishem didn't get all of them? Why he just grabbed the ones that were left on Earth?
Because those are the only ones on Earth. I think
he's not.
I think Druig and the other ones were in the ship.
Yeah, so
that's a good.
That'll be interesting. Like, really, just them?
They went somewhere else after they froze the Celestial trying to get through Earth. They got in the ship and went looking for something else.
Yeah, and they went looking for more Eternals.
They're looking for more Eternals. Yeah,
they
found
them. They're probably not even in our solar system or even this area of the universe. Like they're they're like probably somewhere way far away from here.
Our local cluster,
right?
As we like to call it.
Yeah.
Well, I took it as he took the ones who basically caused the most issues, problems, whatever, and he wanted to have a talk with them as to why they did what they did. I didn't take it as they were the only ones left, so let's just swoop them up.
See, I thought that too, but then he also has Kingo.
Mm-hmm.
Kingo
he said he was going to scan their memories and see what the deal was.
Yeah.
So okay, y'all sacrifice the Celestials for these people. Okay, I'm gonna see why. Y'all not gonna talk to me. I'm just gonna scan your memories and see
if it was worth it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. But
I think bringing back half the universe is worthy enough.
Yeah.
I would think, because that helps out your cause. You're
right, like, exactly. That's what I was about to say, because that actually did what you wanted them to do without knowing that was what you wanted. But that helps you. But I guess it doesn't help too much if Tiamat is sitting there frozen, in the ocean. And can you imagine being on a ship or sailing somewhere and you see that coming out of
the news report say? It said some ancient statue appeared in the ocean. Like we don't know where it came from, but you know, half the planet disappeared
and reappeared.
So this is par for the course.
They're just like, oh, it's Tuesday. You know?
Like what about looking up into the sky and seeing this giant thing with six eyes, flaming eyes up there? That would freak me out too.
I don't know. I just let it be like, oh fuck, what now?
You know, and
like, I mean, because you've already been through probably being snapped and reappearing and almost getting run over by a car if you're in the middle of the street. Like, and this, so then you're like, what the fuck? Then you realize that someone else is living in your house, wearing your clothes, spending your money. Then you're like, you finally get your money back. Then you look up and there's fucking Celestial looking down. Like, what else is gonna go wrong? I mean, it's like you just really have to just kind of shrug everything off and just become kind of numb to it at some point. It's just like, what are you gonna do? There ain't really shit you can do. It's like you look at that big motherfucker. It's like not like you're gonna fight him. You're just gonna be like, all right, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. The other thing that I was glad about with this film. So my daughter and I had this conversation the other day. She said, you know, one of the things that she loved about this film is that it wasn't so focused on Western culture, and the United States was not the center of the universe in this one. You know, you went to different other locales, and, you know, we got to see other civilizations being born at the start that wasn't white people. You know, New York wasn't the central focus of all the disasters. Like, we got to see a little bit more of the world with this one. I mean, Tiamat was, whatever Tiamat is, you know, was rising in the Indian Ocean. So we got to see a little bit more culture in this one as well. And you know, it's just, I don't know, it was refreshing. It was really refreshing.
I'll give them a lot of credit for the diversity of the cast and the culture, having us in Babylon and actually trying to make it historically accurate, or Mesopotamia, trying to have it a little historically accurate. I thought it was kind of cool.
I like the Gilgamesh stuff, like you said, but what was cool, I noticed the second time watching it, is that I didn't realize that their costumes reflected their actual nationality race, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you look at Salma Hayek, it's obviously Mayan Aztec, the way her design is. Gilgamesh, sort of like Mongolian, Asian, like that era. Kingo, traditional Indian. If you look at Makari, sort of like the Iranian thing. So yeah, they each kind of reflected the thing. And like I said, I didn't get that until the second watching.
Okay. Yeah. And I think a lot of that probably has to do with the director.
Yeah. Was it Normanland, that one that she won the Oscar for?
Nomadland.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it, saw the trailer, looks really, really good. First time out as a woman director, woman of color, as a director for a Marvel film. I want to say that I'm half impressed, half she needs to bump it up a little bit more, because she made this one of my least favorite movies, because how can I put it this way? Giving someone a chance is cool, but I think that if you're really going to direct a Marvel film, maybe she should have gotten, I'm trying to say this in a nice way, and I don't mean nothing against her. I think that maybe they could have given her a little bit more support to see her vision all the way through, because I think she did a decent job. I just think that I don't want to say hand holding, but she needed a little bit of help. I'm trying to say that without.
In what way?
Well, okay. Well, maybe because I'm a nerd, but if I'm going to be directing a movie that is a franchise movie, and I'm going to reference this here, Bryce Dallas Ron Howard's daughter.
Mhm.
She directed the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett. And
She did
I'm
a hell of a
hearing
job,
she
too.
did an amazing job. Okay.
It was fire. It was incredible. She did a really good job.
Exactly. Her dad's Ron Howard. Okay. Her uncle's Clinton Howard, who's been acting forever. Her grandparents were actors. She got a lot of advice and mentoring at home as a child and throughout her career, that when she directed a franchise, you could tell it was really good. This woman is really good. I love her. She got an Oscar, but for this movie, she needed a little bit more help to make it more, I want to use the word reliably believable for an action film.
I kind of disagree. I think she
I
did
kind of disagree too.
Yeah, I think she did a great job with what she was doing. I know that a lot of the things that she does as a director is different from standard director. Like, I know she uses a lot of natural light. She doesn't use a lot of, artificial light in her filming, which is one of the reasons why the looks of certain parts of the film, like when they were outdoors, when they were at Gilgamesh's, it looked different because she's using the natural light. The scene where they were making love, or the scene where they were in the forest fighting the druids, there was no artificial light there. She tends to use that natural background to, I guess, enhance the cinematography, and I thought it was beautiful.
The movie was gorgeous.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let me. Okay. I'm sorry, Mike.
I'm sorry, real quick. Also, you have to think that this is an origin story, unlike any of the other origin stories that you've seen. Like, she's not doing like an Iron Man or a Thor or even another Spider-Man for that matter. These aren't characters that you've heard of. So there has to be more exposition in this movie, because you have to deal more with characters in this movie than action. And so there's not going to be as much action as there is in a typical Marvel movie, because you kind of have to learn more about these characters than you would anyone else. It's like, Iron Man or the Hulk, about them, so you could just go into them beating someone's ass. But it's like these characters, you kind of have to learn about who they are, why they're here, what they're getting ready to do, and why they're doing it. You kind of have to go into more exposition than you would something else. I mean, it's not like, doing like a Batman story and seeing the Waynes die again, or doing a Spider-Man story and seeing Uncle Ben die again. It's like you kind of have to go deeper with this story, because hardly anyone's ever heard of him. So it's like that exposition kind of, you have to kind of turn the balance.
Right. Okay, well, let me amend my statement by saying this. Because this movie didn't feel like a traditional superhero MCU movie, I didn't particularly dig the way it was directed, because you're right, I didn't think about this different, because I'm used to seeing Iron Man attack, or Cap with the shield, right, and I'm used to seeing that sort of thing. So I was expecting that to translate over to this movie, to put a just clear line from point A, point B, point C in a superhero movie. So let me amend what I said.
No, and your argument is perfectly valid. It's like there's not as much action in this movie as there is in typical Marvel movies, and a lot of people probably went to the movies and were disappointed because it wasn't. And that's why most people have a very low opinion about this movie, is because there wasn't a lot of action in this movie, as far as comparatively speaking with other Marvel movies. And that's probably why people say, "Oh, it was kind of boring and went really slow." It's like because it kind of had to be.
But the other thing too is, I feel like it had a lot of action, at least as much as some of the other Marvel films. I mean, we started the film with them fighting the deviants. We get various, scenes of them fighting throughout the movie. You have the deviant attack in London. You have Thena fighting with the Eternals when she first goes through, her issues, and you've got the scene with Ajax and the deviants. And then, I mean, I feel like there was a lot of action in this movie, more than I actually expected, to be honest.
I think one of the things we have to always remember is Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios is always trying to do something different. And all the movies can't be action-packed movies. They're gonna do different ones. Like a lot of people didn't like Ant-Man, but Ant-Man was a heist movie.
Right.
It wasn't your typical MCU action movie. I think Winter Soldier was like a spy movie.
Right.
I mean, and this movie was supposed to be like an epic tale, which is what it was. So you always have to remember that they're not going to always do the same genre type movie. They're going to do different styles for the different types of stories they want to tell. This story lended itself to be more of an epic. You know, Ant-Man was not going to be an action-packed movie. Ant-Man is a heist film.
Right.
You know? Black Widow is a spy movie. It has a lot of action in it. So you just have to kind of take it that way. And I think that's you onto something when you say maybe a lot of people didn't like Eternals because it was not Endgame, which Endgame was a heist movie.
Yeah,
really
if you think about it,
yeah. Well,
so,
I'll give you that.
So you always have to look at what kind of movie it was. They all can't be Thor Ragnarok. They just can't. You know?
Well, yeah, and I guess the other thing is that because I have wanted these movies for so long, and we finally have them, and we're in the second phase. I guess the geek out moment for me whenever I watch a Marvel film is I look for shot by shot from the comic books. Like when the first time Black Panther showed up and he does the flip with the claws and the hand up, that's straight off a comic book. I look for stuff like that. Okay. I look to see that Doc Ock is actually going to move the way Doc Ock is supposed to be. I look to see if Thor is going to have Mjolnir the way it should be. So, and I do know this group of comic book, but like I said, it's a deep dive, but I do know of them. You know, I mean, but like I said, certain things that I expected to see, I didn't see, but listening to you guys, like I said, I've revised my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, was there anything? I know you're more familiar with them. What were the specific things that you wish you would have seen?
Well, I saw a couple of things. It took me a minute to zone in on the costume / uniforms because I was like, okay, there's the symbols. Okay, that's there. The other thing is that I guess what I was looking for is more cosmic stuff. I guess if I would say, I guess I wasn't expecting it to be. I wanted more like. And I'm just throwing this down. I'm not saying it had to be a movie, but more Star-Lord Guardians of the Galaxy type of a thing. I expected them to have interaction with people more in space than on Earth, I guess.
Okay.
I want a different type of a film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. You didn't expect it to be Earth-centric.
Right.
Okay. Okay. I get that. But we don't know if... Do we know if they're going to do an Eternals 2?
I haven't said. I don't think so.
Okay, but I mean, they've got a lot of other things.
But they've got to
right now, so
they've got to give this because Salma Hayek has said that her character isn't done. She said that she signed a multi-picture deal for Ajax's character.
I don't want to presume anything really, but it feels like to me this.
Well, just theorize. Don't presume. Just theorize.
This was a gateway movie, like introduction of themes and characters that we're going to see in other places.
Okay.
And so when we see them, we will know who they are and what they represent.
Okay.
Like if Eros, Makari, and Druig show up in Guardians of the Galaxy, we know who they are.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Black Knight and Blade team up and start swinging swords and shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah, so next time we see Black Knight, it probably won't be in the Black Knight movie, but we'll know who he is and what he represents.
Right.
Okay.
He'll probably be in the Blade movie. I bet.
So let me tell you, Mike and I went to go see the Eternals together, and at the end when we listened to it, I didn't catch the voice at first because, of course, it's the end credits. People are starting to like get up and move and stuff. So I heard it, but I didn't hear it. And then the person on the other side of Mike or behind Mike said, "Oh shit, that was Blade's voice." And me and Mike both looked at each other and I was like, oh shit, that was his voice. And I was like, now I gotta watch this movie again just to hear it. Because Mahershala Ali has a very, very distinctive voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard it, I was like, oh, okay. So that means we should be getting Blade sometime soon, maybe.
I would see, and my hearing deficient ass thought it was strange. It's like, because it kind of made sense to me, because I'm like, okay, is this like a multiverse where he's like trying to control the Ebony Blade? He might need the Ebony Blade for something in the multiverse of madness or something like that. So I was like, could be strange. But then when I listened to it again, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fucking, yes, Cottonmouth. Okay.
What do you say? Yeah. You sure you ready for that, boy?
Can't wait. I can't wait. Oh, okay. Oof. Let's see. Is there anything else we need to discuss with the Eternals? I know we kind of did something a little different, because we usually actually do a recap when we talk, but we were kind of just itching to get into the meat and potatoes of it all.
So we were supposed to do this podcast before, and I watched Eternals like the night before. And then I was like, why is this actress reminding me? Like, I know I've seen her in something. I couldn't put my finger on it.
Which one?
And it was Gemma Chan.
Oh.
I saw her. She was in Humans, which was a show that was on years ago. And I found it on Prime. And I was like, oh, we got to watch it again. So we spent the last week watching the three seasons of Humans.
Okay.
She was really good in that.
Okay. Yeah, I remember her from more recently, I think, from Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah. But the cool thing though is in Humans, she was playing a robot android who was human.
Right.
Conscious.
Right.
And I was like, oh, she's playing the same type of character again.
Okay.
Yeah, she was in Captain Marvel too.
Was she?
Yeah, she played Minerva, like one of the other
pilots.
Not Kree.
One
of the
other
Kree.
Wait, no,
she was
the Kree.
She was one of the Kree. Yeah.
I'm getting my franchises mixed up. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I got to give a shout out to Lauren Ridloff, who plays Makari. She is from The Walking Dead. So that's been like,
they're everywhere.
Yes, they are everywhere, and I love it. So yeah. But I really did enjoy this movie. Loved the diversity, loved the relationships. I hope Marvel continues to tell those kinds of character-driven relationship stories, where it doesn't always, and not saying that Marvel does this, but pretty much everything else that we watch, everything has to be a romantic relationship. Everything has to be, it has to be like drama filled and all this other stuff. And you just saw, like, in this film, I felt like the relationships were very pure. You saw a lot of love, a lot of respect between, the people. Even when they disagreed, there was still a modicum of respect, with the characters. And I just hope we continue to see that in this genre, because I think those kinds of stories and those kinds of relationships are much needed, but like I said, we get those in the MCU. We've gotten them with, Natasha and Clint, and with Bucky and Sam, and we get to see those relationships and those friendships, and the positive aspects of those kinds of friendships and relationships. So I hope we get to continue to see that. But any final thoughts on Eternals?
I
like Marvel and Kevin Feige taking chances on doing something different. Again, we see with the Disney Plus shows, and I like that they're continuing to do with the movies as well.
Yep.
So I may have had Eternals on my list. I can't remember, but I actually do enjoy the movie. It has a lot of value. I think it's some pretty good acting in it too.
Yep.
Yeah, Anthony, you had it at number 8.
Yeah.
I love this. I still think that the scope of this movie was just gorgeous. Like the scenes that they had. I mean, creating freaking Babylon, like a city that no one has ever seen, like, and basically just creating it is awesome.
And I think they actually built that set. If I'm not mistaken, I think I remember seeing an interview, and she actually had them build that set. So it's not CGI. It's not just, little models or whatever they usually do. They actually built that set.
It's crazy. Shout out to Brian Tyree Henry for playing the hell out of that role. I mean, just because the way that like the emotion that he showed while still having having the sense of humor that he has, like in the little like pot shots that he takes at everybody was awesome. I mean, but that scene like in Nagasaki or Hiroshima was just heart wrenching. Like you could really feel like the huge burden that he put on himself. I mean, it's a big difference, like from when he was in Babylon trying to give them the steam engine, like before Christ, which was funny as shit. Like you're like, really, steam engine? You're like, yeah, I got to give him something simple. He's like, really? Okay, fine.
Here's the plow.
That was hysterical. That was one of the funnier things. But I felt, like I said, his performance was awesome because I felt really everything that he did. I mean, from covering the boy's ears down to the fact that he's fine, it does plows. He was amazing in this movie.
You do know your babysitting privileges are revoked, right?
That was so good. But I like actors who they give roles to them that you don't normally would see them have, and seeing the POC Black nerd guy be a nerd and just not the muscle, not the heavy, but the nerd, because they did that in Continuum. Where one of the main characters was a black guy and he was a straight up nerd. He was a computer guy. I love that because that shows that we are not just brute strength, that we can do more. We are smart. We do have brains.
Yes. I agree with that sentiment. Yeah.
And he must have been, he had to be a fan of Naruto with all those handsome signs.
And then Kingo with all the Kamehamehas.
Yeah.
Like, Dragon Ball Z.
That was hysterical. Yes, that now that okay. My husband has a horrible memory. Where was he from? What did he act in before that I know of?
Kamal was in he's been on, hold on, I got it right here. He's in The Big Sick. That's one of the main things he was in. Stuber with Batista. He was in a movie with Issa, I think that was him.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was cute.
On Netflix.
Yes, that was a cute movie.
Yeah. He's been in a couple things. Okay. The Lovebirds, that's what that one's called.
That was a cute movie.
He's on Dula. He was on Silicon Valley for a while. It's probably where he recognized him.
Men in Black International.
Right. Yeah.
Adventure Time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it's like I said, most of the people that were in the movie I didn't recognize because I'm old and I only watch certain things on repeat. Leverage. So a lot of these actors I just don't recognize. So. Mm-hmm. So if I ask, it's because I really don't know.
Yep, got it.
Yeah. Shout out to Leah McHugh too, because I think she did a really good job as Sprite, just showing like the complexities of what she was going through, like we've already discussed. Like just being someone who's older than a lot of recorded time, but still trapped in like a child's body is like. I mean. I'm surprised she didn't go crazy. I'm surprised she didn't get the mad worry. Just from that. That's kind of traumatic. Just existing like that and trying to be a functioning person, like just functioning daily. Just functioning is probably hard as fuck. But yeah, I mean, this was a good movie. I can't wait to see what spirals out from it. I mean, there's a whole lot of different ways it can go. Like they have a lot of things, a lot of different ways where, And shout to Dane for not freaking out and just wanting to know what the hell's going on. Like not freaking out is like, are you a wizard? I was like, is he a wizard or a sorcerer or an alien? I thought he was going to like give the other two choices, you know.
Yeah, no, he was just kind of like, you know, when he asked her the question, she was like, what? And, you know, of course, she's kind of deflecting from the whole moving in with each other. And then when they get attacked by the deviant and he sees her powers, he's like, okay, wizard. And just keeps on like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. So that's the pilot. Okay, cool. Like, he's just taking it all in stride. Which not too many people would do.
Shout out to the writers for acknowledging the existence of the DC universe.
Yes, that was funny as shit. Yeah, it's Superman. It's not Superman.
Mm-hmm. And Star Wars too. Yeah, because they had the Star Wars coloring book. So yeah, that was fun. Like, oh hey, when fandoms collide, this is cool. Yep. So yeah,
DC's canon now.
Yep. That's awesome.
Oh, I could go in a whole direction on that one, but I won't.
Oh goodness, right. No, that's not. So yeah, I guess that's gonna be it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can watch our videos on YouTube and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.